All right, let's consider how to write 1/5 as a percent. There's a couple ways to do that. One would be to say that 1/5 is some amount out of 100. Now, this is a classical way to do this because the word percent means per 100. So I'm saying 1 out of 5 is the same thing as how many out of 100. So this is a good way to do this when the number here goes into 100 evenly. So it's easy to convert 1/5 to a percent because 5 goes into 100 20 times. 5 times 20 is 100. So 1 times 20 is 20. So in this case, x is 20% because I would put 20 here. So x is 20. And if you cross multiply, you can see that those really do equal. So 5 times 20 is 100, and 1 times 100 is 100. So when you cross multiply, they are equivalent. So 1/5 is 20%. Now there's another way, though, to do this, and this is very helpful when the number that you have here won't go into 100 an even number of times, like if you had a 6 or something like that, 1/6, you couldn't write 1/6 as per 100 without using a calculator and without using some decimals. So here's the other way to do it, is to think of this as 1 divided by 5. So 1 divided by 5 looks like this. So this is the way you read this top down, 1 divided by 5, and this is the way 1 divided by 5 looks in terms of long division. Well, since 5 won't go into 1, what you do is you put a decimal here. Oops, let me fix this real quick. So you put a decimal there and you add some zeros on. Now I'm going to bring the decimal straight up from there, and now I'm going to say 5. Well, 5 won't go into 1, but 5 will go into 10 2 times, and then 2 times 5 is 10. So when I do this, I'm not paying any attention to the decimal whatsoever. So I just brought that decimal up, but I'm looking at this as 10, not as 1.0. So 5 times 2 is 10, not paying any attention to the 0 there, and you get 10. And you get 0 here. So now we're going to bring this 0 down because 5 won't go into 0, so I bring this digit down. Well, 5 won't go into 0 again, so I put a 0 here, and then I bring this 0 down, and I could keep going like that. So it's 0.20 is 20%. So as I keep bringing these zeros down, it's not going to help. 5 won't go into 0, and I don't have another digit to put there other than a 0. So 1/5 is 20% that way. Let's look at one where it's obvious that you couldn't divide. Like I said a while ago, like say 1/6. What is 1/6 as a percent? Well, I'm going to say 1 divided by 6. So 1 divided by 6 looks like this. I put the decimal there and I tack on some zeros. I bring this decimal up. 6 goes into 10 one time, and 1 times 6 is 6. 10 minus 6 is 4, but 6 won't go into 4. So I bring this 0 down. Well, 6 will go into 40, and it goes 6 times. So 6 times 6 is 36, and I subtract and get 4 again. Well, 6 won't go into 4, so I bring this 0 down, and I have a 0 there. So 6 goes into 40. We already said 6 times, and this is 6 times 6 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36, so I write this down and I get a 4. Well, what I see is that this is just going to repeat, and we're going to go on and on and on. So this ends up being a 6 over here too. So it's 1.6 repeating. So 1.6 repeating is 16.6 repeating percent. So 1/6 is 0.16666, and the 6 goes on forever. And the way you convert a decimal to a percent is you move the decimal 2 places to the right and you add a percent sign. So since the 6 repeats, I'm saying it's 16.6 repeating. That's what that little bar means, that it's 16.6 repeating percent. So changing a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal 2 places to the right and add a percent sign. So 1/6 as a decimal is this, and then as a percent, it's this up here. So that's the way to do that when you couldn't get the number to go in evenly. So the reason I didn't do it like this is I can't get 6 to go into 100 evenly there. So I would end up wanting to use a calculator or wanting to divide anyway, either dividing by hand or using a calculator. So I might as well just divide this to begin with like this instead of doing this, because 6 won't go into 100 evenly. So that's how to convert a fraction to a decimal and how to convert a fraction to a percent.